Going Beyond is a presentation of Beyond Housing, helping entire communities become better places to live with RareGem Productions. Enterprise Bank and Trust is the proud sponsor of today's Going Beyond program with a strong commitment to helping clients achieve a lifetime of financial success. Enterprise Bank and Trust. Create success.
We're going beyond.
Today on Going Beyond.
On today's show, we're going to talk to someone who's going to help us understand all the comings and goings of what's happening with the Ferguson grand jury announcement and everything around that. Our region has a collective anxiety about what's happening, what's going on.
Because what happens is people are already emotionally on edge. Feelings are raw, emotions are high, so it doesn't take much. And if it has just a little bit of grain of truth in it, people accept it as absolute fact. So what we're doing on social media, we're utilizing Facebook. We have Ferguson Fact Check on Facebook. And then on Twitter, we have Ferg Fact Check, FERGFACTCHK on Twitter. And what we do is we go check those sites every day for rumors. You can go there, you can post things that you've heard, and you can ask us, hey, can you check this out? Is this true? I heard this, I heard that. And we will check it out and post an answer. And the good thing about it is we have commitments from people who would know the answers.
The Director of Communications for the St. Louis County Executive, Ms. Pat Washington. Beyond Housing is going beyond.
That and more ahead today on Going Beyond with Chris Krehmeyer. Right after this. Enterprise Bank and Trust is the proud sponsor of today's Going Beyond program with a strong commitment to helping clients achieve a lifetime of financial success. We welcome growing businesses, professionals, nonprofits, and individuals, not just as our customers, but as our neighbors. Talent, strength, passion. Call 314-993-6200 or visit enterprisebank.com for more information. Enterprise Bank and Trust. Create success.
Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
I'm Amy Shaw. I'm the Senior Vice President for Community Engagement at the 9 Network of Public Media, also known as KETC Channel 9. And I believe that trusted independent public media is critical to the vitality of our region. And I also believe that helping every young person be successful is critically important, not only to individuals and those young people, but to our region as a whole. I believe in going beyond.
We're going beyond. Welcome to this edition of Going Beyond. I'm your host, Chris Krehmeyer, President and CEO of Beyond Housing. On today's show, we're going to talk to someone who's going to help us understand all the comings and goings of what's happening with the Ferguson grand jury announcement and everything around that. Our region has a collective anxiety about what's happening, what's going on. To talk about some exciting work that she's doing is the Director of Communications for the St. Louis County Executive, Ms. Pat Washington. Pat, welcome to the show.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Well, Pat, let's talk a little bit about, your role working with the Department of Justice that has been here for a couple months, relatively quietly, kind of behind the scenes, doing some great work, trying to help us as a region think through what's happening today, but more importantly, what's going to happen down the road. So maybe talk a little bit about, that work with the Department of Justice, but more importantly, let's talk about something that you've taken on to really help the region, kind of clearly disseminate fact from fiction.
Absolutely. Probably my favorite parts in all of this is the rumor verification. We have every day, seems like every hour, there is a new breaking story, and it turns out that is usually not true.
Everybody in the region, I bet, gets that because everybody's saying, hey, did you hear?
Exactly.
I heard that somebody told somebody else who told somebody else, right? So
absolutely.
Your notion of debunking all that is absolutely on point.
We have to, because what happens is people are already emotionally on edge. Feelings are raw, emotions are high, so it doesn't take much. And if it has just a little bit of grain of truth in it, people accept it as absolute fact. So what we're doing on social media, we're utilizing Facebook, and we're utilizing Twitter, and we have Ferguson Fact Check on Facebook, and it's just like it sounds, Ferguson Fact Check. And then on Twitter, we have Ferg Fact Check, FERGFACTCHK on Twitter. And what we do is we go check those sites every day for rumors. You can go there, you can post things that you've heard, and you can ask us, hey, can you check this out? Is this true? I heard this, I heard that. And we will check it out and post an answer. And the good thing about it is we have commitments from people who would know the answers. who have agreed to be on standby. We have access 24 hours a day to check information, whether it's in law enforcement, whether it's in, government, whether it's, something on the ground. So we have a good network of folk that we can run things by to say, hey, this is what's out there in social media. What do you know?
All right, so let's run through a scenario. I'll give you a factual thing that happened to me not too long ago. I get a call from my wife who knows somebody who says, I heard one of the local hospitals say we should send home non-essential personnel at 3 o'clock today.
Exactly.
Right? It's just like, and everyone said, well, what does that mean? Right? So if that was the scenario, you could go to this Facebook page, Ferguson Fact Check, say, this is what I heard, then it would be received by you and others. You would either know immediately, or you could make the phone calls and get with the people who've committed to, again, separate fact from fiction, give you the right answer, and then in turn you'll post, here's the answer to that question that you just posed.
That's absolutely right. We had one instance where there were some pastors who were floating around an email to their congregations. And innocently, one pastor got it from another pastor who got it from someone reportedly in authority or what have you, and it was urging their congregations to do something as a result of planning for any upcoming civil unrest. And this direction supposedly came from law enforcement. So, of course, we circled back and tracked down the email and tracked down the originator of the email and the reported law enforcement source and found out there was no truth to it whatsoever. But people are incredibly resourceful. They put things on stationery that looks like it's from an actual official entity, whether it's a company or a government office or what have you. So there are folk who are really going the distance out here to keep the pot stirred. So we have a lot of work to do to try to unring those bells.
Right. And again, I know not everybody's enamored with social media and Facebook. Here is an absolutely wonderful use for social media and Facebook, right? Okay. You may not want to post, what you did today or post pictures of your dog, but here's a great way to say, look, if you want information, you want to help help us as a region remain calm. And again, right now, I think we're struggling to remain calm because you said, Pat, there are a small number of folks who want to stir the pot. And quite frankly, there are some people in positions of power who sometimes don't help relative to, again, getting people's anxiety even ramped up. So again, Ferguson Fact Check on Facebook. You can look and see and debunk maybe other people here in the same rumor you're hearing. And you're like, oh, I just know I got it from a reliable, real source, not somebody told somebody who sent me a fax, who got an email from somebody else, and
exactly.
And we don't know it's true. Tell me about the Twitter account and, again, how people can follow Ferguson Fact Check on Twitter. Because, again, to me, Twitter has been, for me, the absolutely go-to communication tool. To hear and to understand and to get lots of different perspectives. Again, they may not be verified, right? But again, you get a lot of information, and it's up to you individually to sift through that. But Ferguson Fact Check, another great tool online on Twitter to debunk the myths. Tell me how that would work on Twitter, Ferguson Fact Check in 140 characters.
It's the same principle. When people post things or they link to websites or they link to information, and we check it out. And we'll get back to them, and we also then will link that information on our Facebook. So if somebody posts something on Twitter and we check it out, then we'll also put it on our Facebook account so that, if people, maybe they didn't see the answer on Twitter, but maybe they checked Facebook and they can check it out. And so I think the immediacy of both of those is what really we rely on. Well, and sometimes we can't get back to people fast enough, but if you post it, we check it out.
Well, it's real-time communication for the masses. It allows you to get feedback to folks, again, in real time and not just one at a time, right? Because it's hard to get back to everybody. Pat, you've been doing communications and media and stuff for a few years.
A few.
Tell me a little bit about, how unique and different and challenging, and I don't mean this in a strange way, but exciting this is as it relates to trying to help our community come together and to not get through this just because we don't want to deal with it, but to get through it so we are stronger, so that we are better, and more importantly, so we are positioned for the right conversation after the grand jury finishes its process.
Well, see, you hit it right there. How do we get stronger? How do we sift through information? How do we listen? And to me, that's the best value of media. And I have to say, having, 30-plus years of journalism experience under my belt, one of the most important things that I think has happened relative to Ferguson and the region is people are beginning to step up their game in terms of their consumption of news. And those who provide news, especially local news, have had to step up their game because of the international media here. And reporters are finding angles and sources who are local that the local folks just never even thought about doing because they got a comfort level. They are used to bringing you the same kind of news all the time, over and over, the usual suspects, so to speak. But what has happened is people have really had to step up in terms of understanding multiple sources of news, checking information out, cross-checking, referencing what they see on the nightly news at 5, 6, and 10 with what's online and social media. So as a professional, as a media professional, communications professional, that is exciting to me. Now, how we use that and what we do with that is probably the second most important thing. It's not enough just to consume it and wring your hands and say, oh, woe is me. But for me, I believe that the whole goal, communicating and understanding and talking, is so that you can take action, so that you can figure out, okay, I want to go to this town hall meeting. I want to go to this community meeting. I want to now get involved on this board or this commission. Because as a result of what I've seen in the media and I've heard, and because of the discussions that I can now be part of, I am now more intelligent and I am encouraged to be engaged. And I think that's the responsibility of it all.
And do you think as a byproduct of that, we're pushing particularly traditional media sources to change the way that they do what they've done for many years and really suggest that, you know, the way you've done it and maybe the lens in which you've done it and the way you've historically presented information to this region has to change now because of this and because of the, as you said, the multiple ways we're getting information and the savviness in which a lot of people are now looking toward how they get their information?
Oh, we have to. We absolutely have to. That is the danger, I think, in terms of media today, with everybody combining and having different conglomerates and parent companies owning 5 and 6 media sources, and everybody is the same. The competition level, you have people sharing content, and so it hasn't made us better. It was supposed to make us better. It has not. I always believe competition doesn't make you better, it makes you better. And so when you don't have that competition, when the only people you're competing with are the people across the street or across town, it doesn't work. And so they become, just like little sheep, and they follow each other all around, and they're all just herding up the same news. But what this has done is forced people to really question, how they consume their news, and they have forced, with social media, with all eyes across the globe watching, they have forced reporters to actually step up their game.
Yeah, and again, that is nothing but good news for the region. Now, they're going to have to keep that up, right? The human nature says you're going to go back to what you know and what you're comfortable with unless you are forced, into a position of doing some things you historically haven't done. It was one of the great reminders of late, for me, is when I reread Dr. King's letter from the Birmingham jail, and he talked about his intentionality of trying to create tension. Not violent tension, but tension which forced people to come to the table to negotiate for change.
Exactly.
And I think, again, not only in the broader perspective around the race conversation here in the region, but to your point about media, again, how do we force, push, compel people to do things differently and create a level of tension that will no longer willing to accept the way that you've given us the news and somehow are supposed to accept it when we know better? Because guess what? We're getting a lot of other information from a lot of other sources. So if you want to remain relevant, you need to change your ways. And hopefully we're on the cusp of that.
Well, I think it's important for the general public as news consumers to understand that we have the power. If we don't like the way an outlet is covering our community, if we don't like the language they're using, we don't like that lens that you refer to, then it's not enough to just write a letter to the editor. It's not enough to call the station. Look at who advertises on that station.
Yep.
We're talking about boycotting businesses and what have you. Do not leave media out of that equation.
Yep, that's a great point, Pat. That's a great point. All right, for our listeners, one more time, tell us about the Facebook page. Tell us about the Twitter account. You
can find us on Facebook. It's Ferguson Fact Check on Facebook. And for those of you who are inclined to use Twitter, go to FERGSACT CHK. That's at Ferg Fact Check on Twitter.
Pat Washington, Director of Communications for the St. Louis County Executive, thank you so much for stepping up, being a leader, bringing your experience, your wisdom to help our region get the facts and help us move forward. We need to do this the right way. We got to get better. We got to get stronger. Pat Washington, thanks so much.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Enterprise Bank and Trust is the proud sponsor of today's Going Beyond program, with a strong commitment to helping clients achieve a lifetime of financial success. Enterprise Bank and Trust. Create success.
We're going beyond.
Going Beyond is a presentation of Beyond Housing, helping entire communities become better places to live with RareGem Productions. Proudly promoting, presenting, and producing positive programming.
Neighborhood is where you live, and we want to keep it strong and vibrant. This is Chris Krehmeyer with Beyond Housing. We are going beyond.
Chris Krehmeyer, President and CEO of Beyond Housing, located at 4156 Manchester, phone number 314-533-0600. The only organization in the St. Louis region that offers access to affordable housing. Wherever we work, our goal is to help transform people, families, and communities so that they achieve the skills, strategies, resources, and commitment to succeed for the long term. See our work at beyondhousing.org. Podcast for Going Beyond can be heard, downloaded, and shared by visiting hallelujah1600.com. Listed under the music tab on demand. Going Beyond is another positive production of RareGem Productions.